Welcome to Smells Like Potential, the rewatch podcast you didn't know you needed. Richmond can't seem to find a win despite having Zava. Nate has a date that fails spectacularly. Keely has to make a tough decision at work, and Rebecca seeks answers about her future.
I think this episode we're exploring the nature of celebrity. I see it in a couple of different storylines, and we also are exploring how people respond to losing, to failure, to
Mm.
negativity. It feels like the writers are bringing to a conclusion their exploration of two specific new faces we saw for season three, and they do it through Ted's "Believe" speech. What was one of your favorite moments? And I'll dive in with one of mine.
Uh, Jack using the phrase compliment sandwich to help Keely work through an issue. And I thought it was funny because in education, we are very used to this compliment sandwich when giving students feedback. Then she continues to talk about talent dysmorphia.
What her dad called it.
I thought this is a great phrase. I need this in my life. Jack says the worst people often think they're the best.
Yeah, I think that's very true. It's interesting that this wisdom came from her father. We keep hearing about her father. I think he's an important influence in her life and
Mm.
perhaps the reason that she's in the position that she is funding startups. One of my favorite moments was when Ted mentions it feels bad when you're dating someone and they go off and meet somebody else, but at least if it's their soulmate, you feel a little bit better about losing them because they were meant to be with somebody else. And under his breath, you hear Beard say Gina Gershon. And I was like, wait, what?
Hold
Because
on.
earlier, Roy told Ted that he once dated Gina Gershon. And Ted said, that makes me happy. I'm now wondering, first of all, did they both date Gina Gershon? And if so, was one of them her soulmate? Or were neither of them her soulmate? Because they're clearly not with Gina Gershon.
I'm thinking neither.
Okay. And then does Ted know? Because when Roy said that, he presumably would have already known that Beard had dated Gina Gershon. I can't imagine Beard hiding that information and just releasing it now. So is that part of the reason why he said that makes me happy without explaining that both of my best friends have dated Gina Gershon?
Right? They're both amazing enough that Gina gave them the time of
Yes.
day.
Yes,
Yeah,
and it should be noted that obviously Gina Gershon is a talented actress, and that's why she keeps coming up in the show. Clearly, the writers are fans.
exactly. Another moment that I can't let slip is Beard says, I can't believe our white whale has the same name as the strip club where I danced in college. Beard was a male dancer at a place
Well,
called Man City?
you got to admit that's a pretty good name for a male strip club place. But we knew this. Remember, he said at one point that people used to pay for him to bite them.
Oh, so you think that happened at Man City?
I think these things are at the same time. I think they are contemporary stories. I think there
Ted
was a
does say he's a man of many talents.
so I think yeah, it was a bit more of a exploratory phase of Beard's life. But yeah, Man City is perhaps the best name for a male strip club, and sure one exists. I want to know if they play "It's Raining Men" or if it's
Oh,
like "Stairway to Heaven" and they ban it because it's too obvious.
right.
So we said that the episode covers different responses to losing, to failure, to negativity. And so I thought we could sort of lightning round through a few of these. Shandy is fired, she's let go, and it follows her failure around banter and renaming the slogan without permission. She creates a competitive celebrity hookup app
Oh no.
and really doesn't take getting fired well. It reminds me of Edwin Akufu, in fact.
Oh, good correlation.
Yeah. I think the writers favor broad reactions like that, over the top.
Right. It's played for cheap laughs,
Yeah,
physical comedy, but she did not handle being fired well. Went from anger
right.
to begging. It was like the 7 stages of grief all at once.
Yeah, there's a little bit of a Jerry Maguire moment where she's like, "Who's with me? Who's coming with me?" There's only one Renee Zellweger in that crowd, and she said, "No, not you, Dan." Which is fine.
And then Zava quit. Just flat out quit because he could not handle losing. Richmond's on a losing streak, and that is his response. He doesn't challenge his own abilities to see if he can bring the team up. So is that talent dysmorphia,
I think it is. I think these two are very clearly examples of what Jack and Jack's dad were referring to here.
right? I do love his online farewell speech. If you
Yes.
put your energy into the things you truly love, the universe puts its thing back into you. You're welcome. So, of course, he signs off with "You're
You're
welcome."
welcome. It goes back to the absurdity of the entire character.
So I could do a whole episode just on Zava quotes alone.
Sure. Yeah, I'm there for it. Isaac is heckled in the stands. I mean, the whole team is, but in that moment, Isaac chooses to ignore him. He chooses the better path and goes into the locker room. This is foreshadowing for a future episode, but that is one way to respond to negativity and to losing is to take the high road and ignore the haters.
Right. And that is something that Rebecca says all the time.
Yeah,
F the haters. Higgins actually thinks about firing Ted,
he broaches the subject
right? Has
and
that tough conversation with Rebecca.
I was very
He's
proud of him. He never once choked up in his throat.
No, he's choosing the club over individual people in this moment. I don't know that I agree or disagree with him. Is what is more important, keeping the club going, even though you like a person, or backing the person that has the team unified? And well, not with Zava around, but are you holding on to the past and you're not letting it go? So there's a lot going on in Higgins coming to Rebecca to say, we
Yeah.
should consider letting Ted go.
He is the director of football operations, after all. It would be irresponsible for him to not at least broach the subject. So Trent Krim actually steps into this moment where they're struggling for strategy and he doesn't want to say his idea. It's clear he has an idea, but he's like, no, I'm an observer. I don't want to step into it and become a part of the story. But he then brings up, at Ted's urging, suggestions. So I thought that is interesting to step out of your comfort zone when you're trying to just be a neutral observer and offer some help. It's ultimately not helpful. Beard, Roy, and Trent himself say, yeah, that's true. The defenders would tear us apart with this strategy. But it is an idea, right? He's throwing an idea out.
Right. Then Rebecca learns that she can't have children. At least we assume that was the call from Dr. Wagner, was
Yeah,
that was a no, because she did not seem elated. She seemed sad.
right.
And so she tries to call her best friend to process the news. Keely's a little busy at the time.
Yes, yeah. Kudos to Hannah Waddingham. It's a true actress who can present half of a conversation, give the body language and the reaction to carry that story so that we don't, as the audience, have to hear the conversation. We
Mhm.
just know from her half of it, which is, again, well done. Ted has two near panic attacks, and they're basically on either side of talking to Henry about the bullying incident. In talking to Henry, he mentions his own father. So I wonder if that was triggering either way. But both of them he processes. He still feels it. He closes his eyes. He breathes. He even repeats his phrasing that Dr. Sharon gave him in the second incident. It seems as though he's able to carry through. So, is that growth? Is that improving? Is that him responding to negativity and a challenge that he's facing at home and growing in the whole process?
Right, instead of just ignoring it.
Yeah.
I also thought that Henry was the bullied, not the bully in this situation. So could Ted's panic attack be related to, "I misunderstood the information"?
Right. Yeah. And we see him react when Rebecca mentions the word bullying. She says, I'm sorry I bullied you, Ted. And he's like, startled and doesn't know what to say to her. And she reacts similarly when he says, I'm a little bit psychic sometimes. They both sort of freak each other out in that conversation. Roy has a very detailed strategy. Do you want to talk about this? Because he keeps saying he doesn't have Nate's super brain for strategy and planning. And yet,
I think he's an incredible planner and tactical thinker, because unless he had that in his back pocket like Nate, pretending to have these great ideas in the
I think
moment,
this one, he's gone through his head a couple times, this one.
it's unbelievable. Trent dropping his cup because we're all terrified of Roy right now.
Right. Right. His let the good times roll cup for sharp eyed viewers. Yes.
And I really appreciated that Henry took accountability for being a bully. He shared with Ted that he apologized publicly in front of the class. That is an amazing step for a healthy, regulated child. Adults can't do that sometimes.
So I give him points because out of everyone we've listed, I think his reaction is the best and most healthy, followed closely by Ted's and Isaac. Those are the winners of this list of how to respond to losing slash failure slash negativity.
Right?
So kudos to those three. We had a whole bunch of music and movie references and TV references. We can't include them all due to time, but just a quick rundown. There are a few Peter Pan references in this one episode. Ted talks about pointing the ship towards the North Star. There is, of course, a ship in Peter Pan. John Wings Knight introduces Rebecca to his new fiancee, and her name is Jessica Darling. Darling, of course, is the surname of the whole Darling family. I think that's an interesting throw out there to keep it all tied together with Peter Pan, the child that doesn't want to grow up. Some
Right.
might say that's Ted, doesn't want to grow up.
Who isn't growing up? Yep.
Yep.
And then we finally hear "Shite and Knighting Armor" said by one Miss Jessica Darling.
Yes, the second of the predictions of the psychic. She chalks it up to a brain fart. Sometimes she just jumbles words up, but Rebecca freaks out because who would have thought that phrase would ever come into her world? And here she is hearing it for the second time. So, this being the second of three, she starts putting a bit more stock into the psychic and starts taking some steps to find out how she might become a mother, which was the third prediction.
Right. And then we had Ted mention the message, Grandmaster Flash and the Furious Five.
Fantastic. I referenced it earlier on Trent's mug is the phrase "let the good times roll," which is a 1978 Cars hit. And I looked it up. The lyrics mention rock star hair, which of course Trent has. And Rick Ocasek wrote the song essentially to mock the artificiality of celebrity status, what we're talking about, right? With Shandy and everything she's doing, and with Zava, and even the keeper of the sheep. He mentions wanting to be a celebrity so he can tell photographers to take no pictures. So there is clearly a reference there in the song that's not even played, but just on a mug. So kudos to the writers, unless I'm reading way too much into it.
Nothing's an accident in this show. I don't think you are.
I agree. Everything is deliberate. Any
Mhm.
wit and wisdom you could share from the episode?
Oh, so much. Let's start with Higgins. Meeting with Rebecca in the office, considering firing Ted. They have a personal moment. Higgins says, "The universe is full of things we can't explain, Rebecca. Fingernails, what's that about?" And psychics. Even if some of them are charlatans, they can help us see something in ourselves that we can't quite see ourselves.
There he is, dropping wisdom. Although I don't quite get his whole thing with fingernails. They just, I don't know, they seem useful to me. We also hear from Zava. He actually says something that could be wisdom. He says he's not a prophet, but then says, "You will not win because of me. You will win because you work together, because together you can achieve anything." It reminds me that with enough monkeys typing, eventually they will say something interesting. And so I feel that this is the one moment where his absurdity lands correctly and he actually says something worth making it in the wit and wisdom column.
That is his Shakespearean moment.
Yes, he finally pulled it together. And then, of course, there's Ted's Believe speech. It's right at the end. It's a great watch. It's a perfect clip if you wanted to figure out what the show is about. It's something you could share with someone to hook them into watching the show. But he talks about belief. He talks about the sign. It's the name of the episode, Signs. And he essentially is making the point that, look, that's just a sign behind us. What matters is you. It's similar to what Zava said. And he talks about how we all deserve to be loved. He talks about hope. He also talks about too much junk floating through us, which relates back to the first episode. And poop, a lot of the time it gets in our way. And he talks about how he doesn't want to mess around with that anymore. What he does want to mess around with is the belief that I matter, regardless of what I do or don't achieve. The belief that we all deserve to be loved, whether we've been hurt or maybe we've been hurt by somebody else. He goes into that piece as well. He says, that's what I want to mess around with, believing that things can get better, that I can get better, that we will get better. It's
Mhm.
fabulous.
It was a great speech and something that the team really needed to hear.
Yeah. And then he tears up the sign even more. It's now in smaller pieces. I think we may see those later in the season, perhaps. Thanks for tuning in, and we'll catch you tomorrow for our reaction to season 3, episode 6, my favorite, Sunflowers. And our outro quotes from that speech: to believe in yourself, to believe in one another, man, that's fundamental to being alive. And look, if you do that, if each of you can truly do that, can't nobody rip that apart.